ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the Poet is a Human with the Philosopher Dunamis. On this week's episode, number 6, Fight for Community. Please be sure to hit that like button on your way in. And again, if you like us, consider subscribing to keep up with our episodes on YouTube and give us a follow on X.
Fightcast is here to empower individuals to live healthier, master their finances, pursue their dreams, and inspire others through self-awareness and global impact. As always, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only, and not financial advice.
Dunamis, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I have no complaints. I'm here. I'm in good company this beautiful evening.
You know, I, I'll say for the beginning of 2025, it's been a little strange. There's been plane crashes,
Yeah,
terrorist attacks. We've had
fires.
fires that are raging right now in Los Angeles, and really, what we're going to be talking about tonight has a lot to do with. I mean, community is the people that matter to you, the people that are closest to you, and our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to the city of Los Angeles tonight, of course. And we hope that everyone there is okay. I know there's a lot of people that have had to be evacuated, I think tens of thousands. And so definitely hope that they're staying warm and safe tonight.
Yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to each and every one of you and your communities and your village, and we hope that everybody's okay. And we're gonna get through this together because we, as a whole, are a community, and
Absolutely.
in the sense of humanity. So every ounce of energy that Fight and everybody within our community can give.
Let's talk about community tonight because I do think it's important to start with this. And is he human? What is community?
Community community can be anything, man. A community, it's we can be funny about it and be like it's your community market, but I say that just to really generalize it, and you've got everybody in one spot. This is the market, this is the area, this is where people shop, and we're not shopping for groceries, we're shopping for thought. So that's big in a community, is the level of enlightenment that we can have within these communities for all of us to be able to grow. That's huge. That's a huge, huge thing. And community can be so many different ways. It can be your coworkers, it could be your friends, it could be your family members, it could be people you share hobbies with. It could be any of those entities. But the common goal of those communities is growth. At least that's how I like to look at it.
So we're talking about community like it's not one thing, like there's layers to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so it it's something that sounds like the people in your community are people that you care about, people that you would protect. How what is it that typically holds a community together? I mean, how does one start a community, let's say?
Sure. So I feel that with anything you start, you gotta write it down. You gotta have goals. You have to have a why with what you're doing. So establish the why. But with a community, first have an open dialogue is how I look at it. So, I think the biggest understanding in developing community like that is like what is control? But with building a community, it starts with bond. It starts with the trust. It starts with words. It starts with actions. You have to be able to take the you have to be able to break it down. You have to break community down in its DNA. That's what it starts with, are the words and the actions of what you're wanting to do. And I feel that there's two different types of karmas, right? And I don't want to go on a tangent here, but there's two different types of karmas. So on the one end of karma, you have somebody who is wanting to enlighten others, without being enlightened themselves. And then you have the other leader who's enlightened and now is enlightening others. A true sense of self, right?
Yeah.
But with that, now you've built a bond and you've built trust with yourself. And I think the rest you attract. That's the best way I can describe it in Izzy's mind, Dunamis. It gets a little deep around here. It gets we got about 10 shovels. What about you? What about you? And I think, maybe the audience might get a little lost with where I go sometimes, but and I don't want to say I don't want to say that you're simple, but I feel like maybe you can explain it to, the audience, and maybe in a way that they can maybe pull some of the pieces together that I'm referring to.
Well, I definitely have to always put things into simple means for me to be able to understand it, and to carry it cohesively, on a thread. And
Hmm.
so the um the communities that we have, and there's many communities I think that make up the Cardano community, for example, and then that community is one of many communities within the crypto community, right?
Hmm.
And then that is again one of many communities within um, other sort of fields of investment, or if you think of it in terms of investment, but really crypto and the communities that are built around it are very, very diverse, and there's all sorts of different social impact platforms. I mean, I was in a space just today, and I was listening to a project that has it sounded like tokenized farming, and that they were doling out proceeds in honey. It sounded like it was
Wow.
such a cool idea, and but that's really what the shared interests and love that we have. I boil it all the way back down to when you're born. You're born into, or should be, at least in God's design, born into a community of three. The first two people that you meet in this world are your mom and your dad, and that we're not designed to come into this world alone. And I don't think we should go out of this world alone either. I think that community is the people that you bring with you along the way. And we start off with our parents and our family. We have our brothers and sisters, and aunts and uncles, and and in our family, they if you go back far enough, the Scottish people have clans, you know, and your clan, your tribe, the
Yeah.
people that you're a part of, that's your community. They're the people that are the closest to you. But you know, if that's where we have to start. I think we could always jump to the end and talk about the end goal, and that is the world is a community. We're all connected, right?
Right.
But if you're the kind of person that's going to come and brag to me about like donating to the Red Cross, but you treat your kids like, and you mistreat your wife, like that's not a respectful, that's not a good person in my eyes. And so I think that it's community is about, the way that you have to think about it is at the home first. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the people that are right around you, and then from there, taking that caring and that love and that protection, and then just growing that circle out. But you can't take care of people, that are you can't be the type of person to try and take care of the nation, to try and take care of what's going on at a world level, and yet not take care of your own family at home. That's what we're talking about tonight is your why we fight, you know? We fight because of our community, and our community is what we fight to protect. This is maybe the most I think this is the most important episode we've done. It might sound like we're rambling a little bit, but that's partly because we want it to come from the heart, what we're talking about. So, thank you, Z.
Yeah. As a and as a leader, it's important to know that there are people watching you too. So there's a sense of obligation that comes with that for sure. And I think people need to be more mindful of that, be more conscious of that. But people watch us every day, and I don't want that to sound weird, but it's true, it's real, especially when we get down to the tribes and the villages, and you have kids that see what you do, hear what you say. So you're walking around being recorded every day.
Hmm.
People will mirror those actions very easily in any aspect of it. Could be a group of adolescents, it could be the parent with the child. So you see something enough, you'll start to repeat it. It's very important for even before I guess being a leader. I guess you don't get, crowned a leader. It's just something that it happens, if you got it, you got it.
Hmm.
But just knowing thyself is huge. Is the more the more self efficacy that you have, the more solid you are in your foundation, the more you're able to be balanced, the more of that is given out into the community, and naturally that's what you attract. So then when you think about the aunts and the uncles or the cousins or the friends, you have this offspring or they have offspring, there's already a foundation established in how we conduct ourselves and how we move from that standpoint. So a lot of the leadership and a lot of these tribes and just building anything, man, it comes from within. It does. That's the biggest thing that, and we're going to talk about so much more. But if there's anything that I could really highlight the most out of this would be your identity, your why. And that'll pull it together. And I feel like at times, even for myself, it can be a bit of a pill to swallow. Especially as we continue to experience life and we see and experience things more and more and more, it's easy for us to fall into projections. It's easy to fall into this the psychology of so many other things that it just doesn't have anything to do with you. So
Yeah, when we really need to be focused on those things that are the most important to us, right? If your community is under threat, you know, what does it take to protect your community and the people around you? What is worth fighting for?
all right, what is worth fighting for? Everything, I feel like. Everything. Fight, fight. So what do you think about just the community of like your coworkers and like your colleagues and things like that? I mean, I know like I don't want to sound I don't want it to be redundant, but I feel like when we think about the village, right? And we think about our family, we think about our mom, we think about our dad, our cousins, and all of that, and how important they are, with our coworkers and our colleagues, because there's also a mentality of, and you've heard it too, where I'm here to do my job, I'm not here to make friends, I'm not
Hmm.
here for, I'm not this and that and the third and boom, 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 and I'm just here to make money and pay my bills and go on from that. I feel like there's more of that and less of actually knowing people. I don't think that you necessarily need to know somebody's favorite ice cream, even though maybe it wouldn't hurt. Maybe somebody was like, "Wow, no one ever remembers my ice cream," whatever. And maybe that's why people are like that, because there's already just been this mentality of like, I'm here for one thing, I don't like you, and then people don't want to get to know one another. And I feel like that's where I feel like we can run into a lot of mixes of water, oil and water.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, but think about how that has probably changed. I mean, I know for a fact that I've worked in a lot of office settings that felt like almost like a family. I mean, I had that experience quite a few times in my career, and then it feels like the more we got towards remote work, and
Yeah,
especially with COVID, but it's just another part of society that's been sort of weakened, like a part of the fabric that's been torn. And you're right. Maybe you don't have to know everything about every single one of your coworkers, but man, there was a time I remember we would have company get-togethers. People would get together and have um, all sorts of community building events. Like they're trying to make something like that happen, and I feel like, I don't know, those are things that should happen naturally. Like we should
yeah,
naturally want to sort of look out for each other and spend time together, I think. And there's something about the stress of this world recently that's really, you know, um in the Bible they talk about, in the last days the love of most will grow cold. And I think
hmm
about that phrase a lot. I think about the phrase, the love of most will grow cold. And I look around at the world today and wonder if that's one of the biggest signs. It's just, you know, where's the love?
there's not enough of it.
No.
There isn't enough of it, man. And to be able to flip the mind and thinking that, five good things outweigh one thing versus one thing outweighing five things. We've grown so far apart, with that. And yeah, COVID really affected a lot. And but I also feel like in some ways too, COVID, and even before I get to that, I also this is what I would like to do because you touched on something that I'm actually I would say I'm on the opposite fence of,
Okay.
and not that I don't agree. It's just more of my experience and my cultures of work, and a lot of that had to do with me more than anything. Being younger, I was very much attracted to just money and just making money to be able to do whatever. There was no rhyme or reason. It was just having it. That was the most important thing to me. So on the one end, I attracted jobs that paid well, and I had nothing to show for it. I would say the most rewarding, and I have three, I should say, three rewarding, experiences that I had. The first one was working with the youth. That was great, incredible, and that definitely ties into our community because our youth are a vital part of our community, and they're a vital part in the evolution of it. It's basically an assessment of how well we did as
Mhm.
leaders. The other part that I was really that loved the most was working on cars and being able to be in a position of management and even getting out there and get my hands dirty too. It was very rewarding because the people that I worked with understood the severity of making sure that people were safe on the road. Because not only was it the safety of them, it was for the safety of others. So it was very rewarding and learning those things to be able to explain those to customers. As I know that whenever you go to a dealership or whenever you go to a mechanic, it's never easy for someone to tell you that you need $1,000 worth of work and tell
Yeah,
you why it's necessary. And then when you ask them, well, what can I prioritize? And you say all of it. I know that can be a little tough. Uh,
definitely.
and then the other one would be where I'm at right now currently. We have built such an incredible group, a community of people in this ecosystem of Cardano. And I couldn't be any more grateful and thankful for all of the support and love that we all have for one another. And even in the music aspect of it, and being an artist, listening to these artists, these great artists, by the way, listening to their content, it's not about this whole I'm better than you and here's why and you're not this and you're not that. It has nothing to do with that at all. You have a bunch of artists in this community that are explaining their why, and that's so different than anything that I've seen in any of this music stuff, man. It's
Mhm.
always just a battle of this person versus this person. And what I've established is, especially where we're at right now, when you have two people, two unknown people that are going against one another, who really wins in that aspect? Because at the end of the day, nobody knows both of you. So
Yeah.
what are we arguing about, or what are we battling for? What invisible beef narrative is there? And I don't get that with this community at all. Everybody is focused on their why, and that's what I love the most about it, man. But you know, I attracted a lot of people that were in that same space of money and did not have that same type of cultural experience in my work environments. I would definitely say that I struck out a lot, but I learned a lot of lessons in those experiences, and it definitely molded me to be the person that I am today, to see what it is and what it isn't.
What was your experience like in in your work experiences?
So the ones where I felt like I was forcing it, it was very intense. It was very much a just a go 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 type of thing, and there wasn't much thinking other than it. Imagine being in school reading a textbook and regurgitate or learning this stuff to regurgitate it on a test. It's
Mhm.
like that. There's no free thinking. It's this is the formula, this is what it is, and do it or you get fired. You either make 150 calls a day or you get fired. You know, there was really no, hey, if there was a hey, let's go get lunch type of thing, it was a group of people. It was a clique of people. The clique of people that were making the six figures. The clique of people that said, "Hey, I can't really work with this person, but they're more your space. Here you go." And it was more of that versus like, "Oh, young Buck has been in here for like 2 weeks. Here's a little something. Give him a call. Like see what becomes of it. I haven't been able to. I'm just not focused on that right now." So I definitely felt like I was on this side of like, I just wanted to fit in, as cliche as that sounds. I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to dress the part. I wanted to just be a part of that so bad, only to just realize that like it wasn't for me. And I learned the hard way, dude. I learned the hard way. Like I've gotten fired, I've lost jobs, and I've just had some really wild things just like happen in workspaces, man. And I know it's part me, and actually it's all me. When you think about it, it's all me. It's all you when you think about it, because in some shape or form you've attracted that. And to the severity of it, like who's to say? um,
So
but
is the opposite of a community environment in a workspace, is the opposite of that just a toxic culture? Is that the cause?
yeah, I would say it'd be a toxic community, because a community is a community no matter what, no matter how you flip the pancake,
Yeah.
it's still a community. It could either be a community of people that uplift you to be your best self and free think, or it could be a community of people that control you to think this way, or they move this way, so you feel like control.
Yeah.
So it can go either way.
So if you find yourself in a situation where, in life, maybe your boss is a tyrant, or maybe your parents are in your eyes being tyrannical, or you have friends that mistreat you, or so-called friends, or you're in that space where the negative vibrations and obstacles in your path that seem like they're holding you back in your community. What how do you suggest is maybe the best way to handle that?
Yeah, the first step that I can give anybody is you have to do a reflection.
Absolutely.
And that's key, whether it's looking in the mirror or even taking a notebook, writing down pros and writing down cons of this. Because the last thing you want to do is just be impulsive about how you go about doing these things. Because you could be working in a toxic environment, and the last thing that you want to do is be toxic and toxic, because nobody wins at the end of the day.
Exactly.
You look worse than, more than anything. With family, it's a little hard. It can be a little bit tough, just because it's like, especially with moms and dads. My mom, I love my mom, and my mom very much loved me. She didn't always understand what it was that I was doing. She didn't get this per se, this whole like business thing. Back then it just seemed so far away. So it was always mom starting a business, mom starting a business, mom starting a business. Oh yeah, that's great. So how's your new job going? And I'm like, all right. And sometimes you just don't have to talk about it. Just
Yeah.
show them. Just show them, man. I felt once I stopped talking about it so much, and then she started asking me questions about it and asking me how it was going, and then she started to see it for herself. That's when the conversation started to shift. So I think that that's also what is that? A law of power too. Is just not telling people what you're doing all the time. So I think a good solution, or just, and it's not like a sense of being secretive or anything like that, but it's like, if I told you right now, Dunamis, that, I'm gonna make $1 million, I'm gonna make $1 million, I'm gonna make $1 million, and I say it every single day, and then you finally just get to the point like, so what are you doing to make $1 million?
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it. But I think there's more value when you move, and I think that's a given.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what you're talking about, is the fact that like you disperse energy. When you talk about it, you're getting that dopamine hit. I'd be saying, yeah, man, and if I agree with you and you feel that sort of congratulatory acceptance, it actually hinders your ability to gain that $1 million, right? Because now you've gotten what you're looking for, and you're not feeling the drive to go out and actually take action now, like you're saying.
Mhm.
And taking it back just a step again to control, and
Yeah.
you know there's people in this world, I think, that feel like to get ahead you have to figure out how to manipulate other people, or you know you have to steal or rug somebody, or whatever it is, in order to get ahead. And I think we found the exact opposite. And so what is it in community when you have people that come together, and how can that be something that's not extractive, but you have this additive sense where
Mm.
one person plus one person, and all of a sudden you have three people's worth of production for somebody that maybe doesn't doesn't understand that. I mean, that's something that we've witnessed, right?
Yeah.
So how could we sort of describe that for someone?
Ooh. Yeah, it always comes down to describing it, because we just do so much, guys, that it really, gosh, I don't want to say this pretentiously, but it just comes natural with our team to just do, because everybody just knows that's just what we do. But you gotta, you know, everybody's got to set the tone, and in some way.
Hmm.
It's really, and when I think about really the origin of like group and stuff like that, I even wonder sometimes, how it all came about to be. And I feel that the one thing that really pops in my head when I think about all of this in the beginning was like protection, protection to feel safe.
Hmm.
There's safe space, there's this haven. And I feel like when you feel safe in a spot, you start to then explore your surroundings and you start to expand, and then you might start, you're going to run into people, you're going to see other people that are exploring in this safe space like you, and then it expands and it goes and it goes and it goes. You have to set yourself up. And I know a lot of what I say, guys, comes from, or it starts with self. I'm going to say that 1,000
Yeah.
times, I'm sure, in a million other podcasts too. But a lot of this is self, because you truly do attract, like what you put out to the world and what you say and how you move. That is so key. Before any community starts, it starts with you.
One of the things that I was thinking about is how every person in this community that we've got going on, that we've been putting together, has a role, and they all come in, and you're right, and you have this dream and you have this vision for yourself personally, and you come into a space, and what's important, I think, is to get plugged in, and then the crazy thing is that every single person in the team that has come in, they all have something. Everybody, if they're, whether they're a dev, or we have content creators, we have people that are just good at organizing things. There are some people that just have a bubbly personality and are great as just community moderator personalities, right? But like, I think what makes a community great are each of the members of its community. And like you say, you have to start off in that safe space where you feel like you're in a place of that's got protection, right? So you have to have um, a core group and a core established place where people can feel that, and then I think beyond that, helping people to understand their value, right? Helping each person to see in themselves maybe what they don't see. Like you're saying, there are people that would go and look in the mirror and not think well about themselves. It starts with the self. There's nothing that's ever going to make a strong community if each of the members of the community don't believe in themselves first.
Right. And another thing too, it is okay to grow from communities too. And I think that's guilt, but again, that also comes from the projections of others, because we've had this conversation before with a few people. Not everybody can go.
Mhm.
You may have been going through this metamorphosis, with the community for years, and then you get to a certain point in your life where you hit a fork in the road, and your direction may be completely different from where other people are going. But being okay with trimming the fat, because it's also, you start safe to be able to take the leap of faith. So you start safe to take the leap of faith. Ooh,
Well, we have talked about a few different communities, and
yeah,
what about um I know next week we're going to be talking specifically about farmers,
yeah,
but one of the things that we kind of we touch on some of these topics, and we'll come back to some of these topics. One of the things that's going to be a recurring topic is preparation. Um, and preparation is important. Just imagine, being in Los Angeles right now, and there's a fire coming, and you need to leave, and you don't know if this fire is going to wipe out your home, right? So being prepared is having a bag with your most important stuff that you can grab if you live in an area that's maybe going to really just having a bag in general is a good having a go bag is a good prepper um thing, and we'll touch on that. But it's important to set up a network beforehand. So when we talk about being prepared, make relationships with local people that know how to do things. It could be as simple as, you know, make a relationship with a local handyman who can come by and fix something in the house electrically, if you're not inclined in that direction. It could be making friends with somebody who happens to have a couple of goats or cattle, or is a farmer, and have that go to the farmers market and make relationships with the people there now, so that if something happens and you're not able to get into a grocery store for whatever reason, you have people that you can call on.
And I really want our audience to see where we're going back to, with this, because I want you guys to just take a moment. And as we're talking about community and we're talking about these things, think about the past few episodes that we have and see how all of this all circles back around. I just take that second here, because we're halfway from 10. So, see how this all circles back around and back to that preparation. Like, this is huge in preparation, because this is a fight for all of this, the fight for preparation, and being able to have freedoms, being able to have the freedoms to be able to express ways on how you need to provide solutions, and the resources and the means to do that. These are vital things, and these are things that I feel like a lot of people do these things. I want to look on the other end of the stick here. I feel like there are a lot of people out there that do it a lot more than what's actually portrayed. I feel like we are in this era now where I'm starting to see more people supporting their local whatever, whether it be the local farmer, or if it's the local artist, or even if it's somebody who's like, "Hey, man, I make my own paper. I make my own hemp paper. You want to buy paper from me?" I
There you
do
go.
see, I do see that stuff going around. Keep that up. Keep that up. Seriously, it just and keep being innovators. That's huge. I know it's like I feel like there are people out there, and I thought this too. I thought, like, there's millions of people out there that are making music, man. Who am I? But at the end of the day, it goes back to the self identity of, doesn't matter how many people are making music. I make music, and I love to make music, so that's what matters to me. And that should be that way around the board. Like, I love what we're doing, as a whole, and we need to keep expressing, and keep exercising, what we're doing right now, because it is nice turn to see, and I feel like maybe there was more of that then, because there was less of other things, like there was less conglomerates, and it was more of, like, back in the day, where the local milkman would be in the neighborhood dropping it off. Now you can go to any superstore or any dollar store or whatever, and grab some milk. You know, the convenience of things, and I think that that is, with preparation. On one end of preparation, it's like, okay, I'm going to prepare myself to go to the supermarket to go grocery shopping. Okay, that's great. You've got a grocery list. You've prepped for that moment. All right. So the other end of that would be, what happens if there's no grocery store?
That's what preparing for the worst case scenario is, right? Um, and I, again, there are so many ways that can happen. People are going to, on the one hand, listen to this and say, "Oh, here's another nutcase," says you should, stock up your house full of toilet paper, and that's not what I'm saying. Um, but it's didn't take a lot back in the snow apocalypse of Texas for there was a week where I couldn't get out of my driveway. So, there's some times where yeah, you can't get to a grocery store. It might be for a period of time. Although we were under threat, for a period of time that we might have to get vaccine passports in order to be able to go to a grocery store. That didn't end up happening here in the United States, but I mean, that it was discussed, right? And that's, so you never know what's going to happen. And being prepared is a way that you help to protect your community. Making relationships is a way that you help. We're so much more resilient together, you know? And I think a big part of the way that we have been divided, when I say we, I mean everyone. And going back to the thing about COVID, that was a part of it. I feel like we talk about the coworkers. We used to all go in. When I say we, I know a lot of people still go into the office every day. I don't, but there was a time I think when camaraderie in the workplace was probably stronger. I think there was a time when families stayed together better. There was a time when uh, communities online held together better than the way they do today. So much of what we have in the Cardano community is, I think, very unique and important and should be cherished. And to bring it back to what Jenny said, in last week's episode, we were talking about, she was talking a lot about governance. And, governance can be thought of as how a community handles consent. Governments rule the people that they govern based on the consent of the governed. And a community is basically a bunch of people that consent together to do something, right? Or live in the same area, or have that shared interest. And consensus being sort of a word that derives from the same base. We arrive at consensus through a lot of different mechanisms, but that's governance in essence, right? And so to bring that back around, I think Cardano has a fantastic community, and it's important to protect the culture of that community so that it's not toxic, so that it's something that's welcoming. We've been criticized. The Cardano community has been criticized. I heard just in a space today, being criticized as being a toxic community. But I think that we've also sort of called out that Cardano is a unique space. We have a lot of very eclectic, amazing, intelligent. Some of us maybe more mentally ill than others. And when I say some of us, I'm pointing at myself. You have to be a little eccentric, but that's what really makes Cardano great. I think the diversity of thought, and yeah, we're feisty. That's the one thing that we all kind of have, is we're all passionate about different things, which is fucking great.
It
Sorry
is.
again, PG-13, but
Man, I'm about to get a bucket and you're gonna drop 25 cents in that bad boy. I agree
uh,
with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And that's the one thing I can say, or not one thing, I could say many things, but that's one of the biggest things I can say about Cardano is, even if we fall into this moment where it seems as though we're just disagreeing for the sport of it, because I feel like we all are very intellectual people, that sometimes debating is just like exercise to some,
mhm,
but we need to be able to circle that back around and remember the common goal here. And I explained this earlier and a conversation that I had with one of the team members. It was about it's good to be able to have these thoughts and be insightful, but also being able to break things down back into, into its purest form to be able to get back to the common goal of it. Like what's going to be sustainable ultimately in the end versus what are the things that we're going to alter in life and things that we're going to look at and be like, okay, that's not going to stay in the hands of time, and then consensus on that is huge, man, because ultimately what you're doing is you're coming together as a whole and saying, this is our rock, this is our foundation. You got hundreds of people that are putting a bond and putting a trust into this that, there's not going to be much that's going to, change out of this because at the end of the day, these are still our core principles. This is still our core foundation. So, with Cardano, one thing I, will say is that we all stand on that decentralization and what that means. Can people interpret it differently, but I just know what the definition of decentralization means, and that's how I practice it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there's always going to be control. There's always going to be manipulation because even when you talk about decentralization as an opposition to a centralized, so we are essentially manipulating people into seeing why decentralization has more benefits than say centralization. Not saying that centralization is bad, but just off of the system that we're operating and what we're building our principles off of, this is what works for us. So life is such a slippery slope, man. It's a teeter totter because you can take this information and you can string it so many different ways, man, and you can become the best puppet master ever. But with Cardano, I love how we always center back and it becomes well, what do you think? All right, let's open the floor. It's never a closed door policy with Cardano in any aspect of it. We have our moments, but I feel like we have more people that come in and say, "Hey, let's remember," versus, "Hey, let's derail the train."
Yeah. We do like to fight. We like to fight.
Yes, yes, we do.
It's great though, man. The ecosystem continues to move forward, and the bull run's coming either way. You know, I've heard a lot of thoughts around what could possibly happen here in the next few months. Um, and it's impossible to predict. It's impossible to predict in the short term what's going to happen. But crypto is not going anywhere. Crypto is here to stay. Bitcoin is here to stay. Cardano is here to stay. And it's important for us to protect the community and build our sub communities within Cardano. And it's important for us to respect the other sub communities within Cardano. It's a lot more welcoming when we all get along and can clap for each other. When projects succeed. I know the biggest projects in the space, Sneck, Chad, Hosky. Not going to necessarily call everybody out, but Friend is a great friend of ours, and of course, when those projects succeed, we're happy for those projects to succeed. We want our project to succeed as well, right? And but we all succeed together, and I think that being a welcoming and an ecosystem that cooperates, communities are about cooperation, and communities succeed the most when you have people that are not just out there for self gain. It's important for us to gain. There's no way to feed the family unless we are able to gain in some way from the work that we put in every day. But it it shouldn't be gain at the cost of another community or at the cost of um, damaging or fudding someone else's bags. It makes so much more sense for us to work together to be positive. I actually like that Elon Musk here recently tweeted about being more positive on X. I don't know what that does to the algorithm. I don't know if that hurts Fight as a project or helps us, but I can tell you that I do think that it's important for us to not focus on what we are going to fight against, but to focus on what we're fighting for. And that's a part of what this is about, right?
Facts.
Is talking about community.
I think that's going to help us out a lot because what we stand for and what we're putting out to the community, it's not to rebel. That's not what this is about, guys. This is about it's about knowing. It's about understanding. It's about listening with the intent to understand. That's what fight is all about. It's fighting for the ability to be able to move in a way where it's it's for the gain of you, but for you to be a better person in society, to be a better person in your communities and society, community, tomato, tomato, but to be the best version of you at all times. So when we talk about these gains, yes, it's important. My biggest why in this life is so I can service the people. Again, we've all been given an ability, but specifically, I feel like I've been given an ability to be able to create art through music, and with these words, I take it as a huge responsibility to pay attention to what I'm putting out into the world. What do I want the world to remember? Ultimately, with everything that I'm putting out, content wise, and I feel very fulfilled in servicing the people because in fulfilling others, I'm fulfilling myself because that's what I want. And I appreciate all the support.
Yeah, it's you talk. I've heard you say quite a few times, servicing the people, and that's something that I really think is the greatest form of leadership. Um, one of the I don't mean to preach here at the end of this, but you know, um, Jesus washed their feet and of his disciples, and he said that that was the greatest, was to serve. And I really think that that's a great way for us to think about community and our place in community at the end of the day. To take a step back and say, at the like at the very beginning of it, I need to love myself. I need to love myself and love God. And then from there, I need to take care of my family, radiating out that that same sort of, you know, care out to other people, man. And as we all do that, that's community. That's how we create community, right?
Facts. It's all facts, man. When I think about money now, and I think about what it can do for me and what it can do, for others.
Yeah,
And it's more than just buying the 56-foot yacht. I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. More power to you. I'm not telling you what you should and shouldn't do with your money. Listen to the disclosure. But I also feel like if I acquire this, then what can I do to build my village and make them stronger and help prepare them? That's how I look at that. The money will come with it. The wealth comes with that. But the true wealth is knowing that we've built a tribe of honest, authentic people, and seeing that in people is seeing a reflection of you, and that's the ultimate wealth. That's why you can't put a price tag on that.
exactly. Yeah. And the value of the community is greater than the value that we put into it, and it becomes greater the greater that we help each other discover more value in ourselves. So, like, the more that the next person, you know I help them to train them to learn a skill, as an example, and they feel better about themselves because of that skill, and they go out and they become more valuable in that sense. The entire community grows and gains value from that, and that's why it starts with education. That's one of the things that man, I love it. I love that we've been talking to Bevy Gang recently, you know, and I think that's going to be a really cool partnership.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I love the education focus, and that's really why we started what we're doing. We're trying to wake people up and get them to think a little bit differently about the things in the world. You know,
Right. That's why we're here.
that's it.
This is our call.
Every week, man, and we're going to be consistent. We're going to be here, and as soon as we're done here, we're going to be in that X space, the Fight Night React. So it's an open forum. I mean, anyone can request to speak. We invite everyone who comes in up, and we definitely want you to come in. Tell us what you think, man. Tell us what your community is, where you're from, and be sure to put that down in the comments. Let us know where you're from, where your community is.
Yeah, give us your flag.
Absolutely. What country? And if you're here in the States, let us know roughly where you're at. So on that, next week, we're going to be back here talking about farming. And we have a surprise announcement as well. So fight for farmers next week. And be sure to hit the like, subscribe. And if you made it this far, absolutely put a dog emoji in the comments for us.
Yeah. Ruff.
Ruff, ruff.
Ruff.
Awesome, man. I can't wait to jump into that space. So let's get in it, man. And
Yeah.
never give up the fight.
Never give up the fight, y'all. Namaste.
Namaste.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test, expect nothing less, you check as I'm chess, what's happening next, yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain, it's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession, all in his possession. You got their attention, I leave an impression and take a redemption. Just kill, no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression, You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they're scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place, I wanna be first. Work till it hurts, dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions in the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds, they can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they're scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no.